The courtroom falls into an eerie silence as the judge's gavel crashes down, signaling the start of a pivotal moment. In the middle of the tense atmosphere, everything stops when the defense lawyer, Claire Westbrook, makes an unexpected revelation. "Ladies and gentlemen, what if I told you the man you're accusing was never even in the country the night of the crime?" Her voice echoes across the room, and a sharp gasp rises from the audience. The room is frozen in disbelief, and Claire's hand trembles as she holds up a stack of papers, the damning evidence that could shift the entire course of the trial. Across the aisle, her rival prosecutor Gregory Blackwell shifts uncomfortably in his seat. His eyes narrow, but he remains silent, knowing this could either win or ruin the case. Tension in the courtroom is unbearable. A few seconds stretch into eternity as Claire's words hang in the air, challenging everything everyone thought they knew. The audience waits for the next move, their hearts pounding. As the gavel finally strikes the wooden surface, the room erupts in whispers. Claire stands tall, her gaze unwavering, as she watches Gregory's face tighten with realization. He knows that this revelation changes everything. With a deep breath, Claire steps forward, addressing the jury directly. "The truth is, there's a bigger picture here. You've all been misled." Her voice is calm but filled with conviction. The man on trial, James Cooper, did not commit this crime. He was somewhere else entirely, and I can prove it. The jurors exchange glances, murmurs of doubt ripple through the room. Claire can feel the weight of their skepticism, but presses on. "I have witness testimony. I have phone records, and most importantly, I have proof that you haven't seen." Gregory rises to his feet, his face hardening as he prepares to respond, but Claire is already moving ahead, setting the stage for the battle to come. Gregory Blackwell's eyes narrow as he rises from his seat, his posture rigid with authority. He steps forward, his voice cutting through the silence. "Objection, Your Honor," he says, his tone cold, challenging. "This is nothing but a desperate attempt to derail the case. The defense cannot present new evidence at this stage." The judge, an older man with a stern expression, looks over his glasses at Gregory, then at Claire, waiting for her to respond. Claire doesn't flinch. She's prepared for this moment. "Your Honor," Claire responds, "I'm not introducing new evidence. I'm simply revealing the truth. I have the right to ensure that justice is served." The room falls into an uneasy quiet as the judge ponders. After a tense beat, he nods, signaling that the case will continue. Gregory sits back down, but not before shooting Claire a look of pure contempt. Claire, unfazed, stands her ground. This isn't just about the case anymore. It's about winning no matter what it costs. The judge, after a moment of deliberation, bangs his gavel once more. The motion is granted. The defense will present its evidence. The words echo through the courtroom, leaving a sense of awe hanging in the air. The audience is on edge, waiting for what comes next. Claire walks over to the table where her team waits. She grabs a file, the weight of the evidence now fully in her hands. As she returns to the front, her heart pounds in her chest. She sets the file down with a deliberate thud. "This is the key," she says, her voice steady but forceful. "These documents contain proof that James Cooper was nowhere near the crime scene when the murder occurred." The courtroom holds its breath as Claire begins to lay out the evidence. Gregory, his jaw clenched tight, leans forward, watching every move she makes. He knows that if this evidence stands, the case could be over. And with it, his career. As Claire begins to present the evidence, the tension in the room is palpable. The jurors lean forward, their eyes fixed on the papers she's displaying, as she slowly unveils each piece of crucial information. These are phone records from the night of the murder. James Cooper was in another city, over 200 miles away. She pauses, letting her words sink in, and then she flips to another page. This is the testimony of a witness who saw him at a charity event, at the exact time the murder occurred. Claire looks directly at Gregory, her gaze unwavering. "This is the truth, Mr. Blackwell. There's no denying it now." The courtroom remains eerily quiet as the jury absorbs the gravity of her statements. Gregory sits motionless, his earlier confidence now replaced by a quiet panic. Claire knows she has him. The question is, will the jury believe her? The courtroom buzzes with energy as Claire's evidence begins to take root. But as the days pass, doubts slowly creep in. The once confident jurors are now more hesitant, and Claire can feel the growing weight of uncertainty on her shoulders. Her adversary, Gregory Blackwell, has become more aggressive, challenging every piece of evidence she presents. His sharp cross-examinations force Claire into uncomfortable positions, but she holds firm. One afternoon, after a particularly heated exchange, Claire walks down the courthouse steps, feeling the exhaustion settle in her bones. A reporter rushes up to her, microphone in hand, eager for a soundbite. "Do you think the jury will believe your evidence?" the reporter asks. Claire hesitates for a moment, then responds, her voice steady, but tinged with a quiet vulnerability. "I have to believe they will. Otherwise, all this will have been for nothing." The weight of her words hangs in the air, and the moment feels like a fragile thread hanging between triumph and collapse. Inside the courtroom, the atmosphere has shifted. The jurors, once riveted by the evidence, now exchange uncertain glances. The doubts that have been whispered behind closed doors are beginning to surface. Gregory, ever the manipulator, senses the shift and seizes the opportunity to plant seeds of doubt. "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury," he says, his voice smooth and calculated, "what Claire Westbrook has shown you is a mere fragment of the truth. How do we know her so-called witness isn't lying? What is the real motive behind these documents?" The jurors squirm, the pressure mounting. Claire watches helplessly from the defense table, her heart pounding in her chest. She knows that if she doesn't act soon, the case could slip out of her grasp. After a moment of tense silence, she stands, her hands gripping the sides of the table for support. "I'll prove to you," she declares, her voice unwavering, "that what I've shown you is the truth. There's no room for doubt." Late that evening, Claire sits alone in her office, the soft hum of the city outside her window. The case has reached a critical point, and she can feel the weight of the pressure pressing down on her. As she pores over the evidence once again, something catches her eye, a piece of information she missed the first time. A small detail in the phone records, a name she doesn't recognize, hidden within the call logs. It's a lead, a potential witness who could shatter Gregory's strategy. But as Claire looks at the name, a sense of dread creeps over her. She doesn't know who this person is, or how to track them down. With no time to waste, Claire picks up the phone and makes the call. "I need you to find someone for me," she says urgently. The name is Thomas Kent. As the phone rings, Claire leans back in her chair, her mind racing. This could be the key to everything, or it could be another dead end. The next day, Claire meets with a private investigator, the only lead she has in this case. They sit at a small, dimly lit cafe on the outskirts of town, away from prying eyes. "Thomas Kent," Claire says, her voice low. "He's someone I've never heard of, but his name appeared in the phone records of the night of the murder." The investigator nods, looking through his notes. "I've heard of him. A small-time tech entrepreneur with a reputation for disappearing when the heat's on." Claire exhales sharply. "I need to know everything about him, where he is, what he's doing, who he knows." The investigator nods again. "Consider it done." As he leaves, Claire watches him go, her mind already racing ahead. She can't afford to wait much longer. With each passing moment, the case slips further from her control. The stakes are rising, and Claire knows that her next move will either make or break her. Later that evening, Claire returns to her apartment, her mind still buzzing with thoughts of the case. The phone rings as soon as she steps through the door. It's the investigator. "I've got news," he says, his voice urgent. "I tracked down Thomas Kent. He's not far from here, and he's got connections to some very dangerous people." Claire feels a chill run down her spine. "What do you mean dangerous?" she asks. "We're talking about people with a lot of power," the investigator replies. "They're the kind of people who don't like to be exposed." Claire's heart races. She never expected things to escalate so quickly. But there's no turning back now. "Find out where he's staying. I'll be there in an hour." As Claire hangs up, she looks out the window at the dark city below. She has no idea what she's walking into, but she knows she can't stop. The truth is out there, but so are the dangers that lie ahead. Claire's search for Thomas Kent intensifies. Every lead seems to point to a dead end, and time is running out. She's exhausted, mentally and physically, and it shows. Her once sharp focus is now clouded by the mounting pressure. The case is slipping from her grasp, and with it, her confidence. One evening, Claire sits alone in her office, flipping through the case files, desperately looking for something that will tie all the pieces together. As she reads, a name appears, someone from her past, someone she hasn't thought about in years. She freezes. It's a name she hasn't seen in connection with this case, but it's a name that could change everything. The person's involvement could explain some of the missing links. But this also brings a new problem. Claire knows this person, and their connection to the case will bring more than just legal trouble. It will open doors she'd rather stay shut. Her mind races as she realizes that the truth might be darker and more dangerous than she ever imagined. The discovery of this new lead sends Claire down a darker path. She arranges a meeting with a former associate, a private security expert named Ben Rogers, who may have information about the person involved. As Claire walks into the dimly lit bar where they agreed to meet, Ben is already waiting in the corner, his face half-shadowed. The atmosphere feels charged with unspoken tension. "I knew you'd come eventually," Ben says, his voice low. Claire sits across from him, trying to mask the nerves she feels building in her chest. "I need your help, Ben. This person, he's tied to something bigger than I ever thought. If I'm right, he's been involved in this from the beginning." Ben leans in, his eyes scanning the room before he speaks. "You have no idea how deep this goes, Claire. You're getting in over your head." The words hit her hard. She realizes that this case is no longer just about winning, it's about survival. The more Claire uncovers, the more the walls begin to close in. Ben's warning hangs over her like a dark cloud, but she can't stop now. She follows the trail to a high-rise building in the heart of the city. It's late, and the streets below are empty, the city lights casting a cold glow on the asphalt. Claire approaches the building cautiously, her steps echoing through the narrow alley. As she reaches the entrance, a figure emerges from the shadows, a man with a familiar face. "I didn't expect to see you here," he says. It's Thomas Kent, the man she's been searching for. But his cold, calculating eyes suggest this meeting won't go as she planned. "You're digging in places you shouldn't, Claire. You don't know what you're getting yourself into." Claire feels her pulse quicken as she steps closer, determined to get answers. "I need to know everything, Thomas, now." Thomas steps closer, his voice low but tinged with warning. "You don't understand, do you?" he says, his words almost a whisper. "This isn't just about you or your case. There are people who want this to end, and they don't care who gets hurt." Claire stands her ground, ignoring the chill creeping up her spine. "I don't care about your threats, Thomas. I want the truth." The weight of his words settles between them like a heavy fog. Thomas looks at her for a long moment before speaking again, his voice even quieter. "You should. If you keep pushing, you'll find things you're not prepared to face." Claire doesn't flinch, but deep down she feels the warning. She's in too deep now. There's no turning back. "Then I'll face them head on," she replies, her voice unwavering. The silence that follows is suffocating as Thomas turns and walks away, leaving Claire standing alone in the cold night, her mind racing with the implications of what he's said. Claire returns to her office, her mind racing with the conversation she just had with Thomas. She knows he's right about one thing: there are forces at play in this case that go far beyond what she imagined. As she sits at her desk, the weight of everything bearing down on her, her phone rings. It's Ben again. "You were right about Thomas," he says, his voice tense. "But there's more to it, much more. I've got something you need to see." Claire's heart skips a beat. "What is it?" she asks, her voice urgent. "Meet me at the warehouse on Oak Street in an hour," Ben replies. "And bring everything you've got. You're about to learn just how deep this goes." As she hangs up, Claire takes a deep breath. She knows this could be the turning point in the case, or the point of no return. Either way, it's a risk she has to take. The tension in the courtroom is palpable as Claire presents her next piece of evidence. She's piecing the puzzle together, bit by bit, but something feels off. Just when she thinks she's gaining the upper hand, Gregory Blackwell rises, a smirk on his face. "Objection, Your Honor," he declares, his voice smooth and confident. The defense is attempting to introduce fabricated evidence to mislead the jury. The room falls silent. Claire's stomach drops. This is not just a legal maneuver, this is an attack on her credibility. The judge looks at Claire, waiting for her response. The pressure builds, the room shrinking around her as she struggles to maintain her composure. "Your Honor," Claire says, her voice steady but filled with a quiet intensity, "this evidence is legitimate. I stand by it, and I will prove it." The judge nods, but Gregory's eyes gleam with the knowledge that he has rattled her. The battle is far from over, and with every move, the stakes grow higher. Claire storms out of the courtroom, the weight of the day's events pressing heavily on her. She heads straight to her office, her mind racing with thoughts of Gregory's latest move. As she enters, her assistant, Mia, is waiting with urgent news. "Claire, you need to see this," Mia says, holding out a folder. Claire opens it, her eyes scanning the contents. Inside are pictures of her from years ago, with the very person she's been investigating. The realization hits her like a punch to the gut. How did they get these? Claire whispers, her voice shaky. "Someone's trying to ruin me." Mia watches her nervously. "This could be bad, Claire. They're using your past against you." Claire slams the folder down, her face hardening. "Then we fight back. This is my case, and no one is going to take it from me." The fire in her eyes reignites as she steels herself for what's to come. As the days pass, the case becomes increasingly personal for Claire. The photos have shaken her, but they also give her the clarity she needs. Whoever is behind this knows her too well, and they're using her past to destroy her future. Late one evening, Claire sits alone in the dimly lit office, trying to piece together her next move. The door creaks open, and she looks up to see Ben standing in the doorway. "You're still at it, huh?" he says, his voice low but full of concern. Claire nods, her eyes tired but resolute. "I can't stop now, Ben. I need to know who's behind this, and I need to prove it in court." Ben steps inside, taking a seat across from her. "You're getting too close, Claire. This is dangerous." Claire looks at him, her voice firm. "I'm already in, Ben. There's no going back." As she speaks, she knows that she's on the verge of uncovering a truth that could destroy everything and everyone involved. The breakthrough comes when Claire receives an anonymous tip that leads her to a private meeting with someone who knows more about the people behind the conspiracy. She arrives at an old abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town. As Claire enters, the air is thick with dust, and the silence is broken only by the sound of her footsteps. She steps into the shadows, waiting for the mysterious informant to appear. A figure steps from the darkness. It's a woman, her face partially obscured by a hood. "You're getting too close, Claire," the woman says, her voice low and hoarse. "There are forces at work here that you can't understand. They will stop at nothing to see you fail." Claire stands her ground. "Who are you?" she demands. The woman steps closer, handing Claire a manila envelope. "The truth is in here," she says, before disappearing into the shadows once more. Claire opens the envelope, her heart pounding in her chest as she pulls out documents that could turn the tide of the entire case. The next day, Claire reviews the documents the woman gave her. Inside, there's proof of the conspiracy, names, dates, and even connections to powerful figures in the city. This is the break she needed, but it's also the most dangerous thing she's ever uncovered. As she looks over the documents, her phone rings. It's Gregory Blackwell. "I think you're getting a little too close, Claire," his voice sneers over the line. "You're playing a dangerous game, and I'm afraid you won't like the consequences." Claire's grip tightens on the phone, but she doesn't back down. "I'm not afraid of you, Gregory. You've underestimated me." She hangs up, her mind racing. She knows this is the moment of no return. The truth is out, but so are the risks. The final showdown is coming, and there's no turning back now. The courtroom is alive with tension. The documents Claire obtained are now the cornerstone of her argument. But Gregory Blackwell's response is immediate and ruthless. He stands, confidently addressing the jury. Ladies and gentlemen, what you've heard today is a carefully crafted illusion, designed to manipulate your perception. The evidence presented is incomplete, cherry-picked to fit a narrative. Claire sits rigid in her seat, eyes fixed on him, her mind racing. This is it, the final act of the trial. She knows she must counter his every move. The gavel strikes, and it's her turn to present. Rising slowly, Claire faces the jury. I've shown you the truth. The people behind this conspiracy are powerful, and they've tried to erase every trace of their involvement. But I won't let them. She slams a file onto the table, each piece of evidence a damning truth. The jury watches, captivated. The stakes have never been higher. As Claire presents the final piece of evidence, a previously undiscovered document surfaces, a confession from a key figure in the conspiracy, signed under duress. The impact is immediate. The jury reacts visibly, murmuring among themselves. Gregory, who has been confident up until now, visibly falters. Claire stands her ground, locking eyes with the jury, her voice steady and unwavering. This document proves the heart of the conspiracy. It's not just about a single crime, but a network of corruption that reaches into the highest echelons of power. She pauses, letting the weight of her words settle. The courtroom is silent, the only sound the rustle of papers as she lays the final piece of the puzzle in front of them. Gregory stands, his mouth opening and closing, his usual eloquence gone. Claire's victory feels within reach, but she knows better than to celebrate yet. The war isn't over until the verdict is delivered. In the wake of the revelation, Gregory tries to recover, but the damage is done. His confident facade begins to crack, and his objections become more frantic, less controlled. "This is absurd," he exclaims, his voice rising. "This document is fake. It's all part of a grand deception." The judge raises a hand, signaling for order, but the damage is done. The jury has seen through the lies. Claire feels the shift, the momentum swinging in her favor. As Gregory stumbles, Claire calmly addresses the jury once more. "You've seen the truth. The conspiracy that has plagued this case is now exposed. There's no hiding from the facts anymore." She turns to the judge, her eyes steely with resolve. "Your Honor, the case is clear. Justice must be served." The tension in the room is thick as everyone holds their breath, waiting for the final outcome. The courtroom, once a place of chaos, now feels like the eye of the storm. The final moments before the verdict feel like an eternity. Claire sits alone in her office, her eyes scanning the stacks of documents in front of her. The weight of the case, the pressure of the trial, all of it is closing in. She closes her eyes for a moment, trying to calm her racing heart. The phone rings. It's Ben. "How are you holding up?" he asks, his voice warm but tinged with concern. Claire sighs, her voice soft. "I don't know, Ben. I've done everything I can, but what if it's not enough?" Ben's response is quiet but firm. "You've already won, Claire. You've shown them the truth, and that's more than anyone could ask for. Now, it's up to them." Claire doesn't reply at first. She knows he's right. The case is out of her hands now. The only thing left is the wait. The long, uncertain wait for the jury's decision. The gavel slams down, and the courtroom is silent as the judge reads the jury's verdict. "We, the jury, find the defendant, James Cooper, not guilty." The words hang in the air, heavy and final. Claire breathes a sigh of relief, but it's bittersweet. She looks across the room at Gregory Blackwell, who remains stone-faced, his defeat barely visible beneath the surface. Claire stands, the weight of the verdict settling in. She's won, but at what cost? The corruption, the lies, and the sacrifices she made? Are they worth it? As she walks out of the courtroom, Ben is there waiting for her. He gives her a small, tired smile. "You did it." Claire nods, but the satisfaction of victory feels hollow. She's won the case, but the war against the system has only just begun. The finality of the verdict leaves her wondering what the future holds, knowing that true justice is always a moving target. The days following the trial's conclusion are a blur for Claire. She should feel relief, but instead there's a persistent knot in her stomach, an unease that refuses to fade. Her victory has come at a personal cost, and she can't escape the feeling that something isn't finished. One evening, she stands by her window, looking out over the city, her face cast in the soft glow of the streetlights. She receives a phone call, a familiar voice on the other end. "Claire, we need to talk," says Ben. His tone is urgent, tinged with something she can't quite place. Her heart races. "What's going on?" she asks. Ben pauses before speaking again. "I've been digging into the people who were behind this. What you uncovered is just the tip of the iceberg." Claire's breath catches in her throat. The case, the truth she thought she'd uncovered, isn't finished. The corruption goes deeper than she ever imagined, and now she's in their sights. "I'll meet you," she says, determination in her voice. "We're not done yet." Claire meets Ben at an inconspicuous cafe, a place away from prying eyes. The weight of the conversation ahead hangs between them like a heavy fog. Ben sits across from her, his face drawn with worry. "I've been tracking the money behind the conspiracy," he begins, sliding a folder across the table. "The people you fought in court? They weren't acting alone. There are bigger players involved, people who can't afford to be exposed." Claire opens the folder, the documents inside stark and unsettling. Her pulse quickens as she scans the names: politicians, business moguls, influential figures who have all been pulling the strings from behind the scenes. "This is far bigger than we thought," Claire mutters, her mind racing. "But how do we fight against this?" Ben leans in, his voice low. "We have to go public, Claire, but it's not just you anymore. It's about taking down the entire network." The decision feels impossible, but Claire knows what she must do. The decision to go public weighs heavily on Claire's shoulders. She spends days preparing, assembling the evidence, and writing statements, knowing that once she takes this step, there's no turning back. The media attention is overwhelming, and soon Claire becomes the target of smear campaigns designed to discredit her. Her phone rings constantly, with threats and warnings from anonymous sources. One evening, as she's about to leave her apartment, she notices a shadowy figure outside her window. Her heart skips a beat. She steps back cautiously, but the figure is gone by the time she looks again. The paranoia creeps in, her once safe space now feeling like a target. Later, she meets Ben to discuss their next move. "They're watching us, Claire," he says. "You can't ignore that anymore." She nods, feeling the weight of the danger around her. "I won't be intimidated," Claire responds, though her voice shakes slightly. "We're going to expose them, no matter the cost." Claire and Ben arrive at a hidden location, an underground meeting with a group of whistleblowers who have evidence against the network. The group has been working quietly in the shadows, providing vital information to expose the corruption at every level. As Claire listens to their accounts, her anger rises. The extent of the conspiracy is worse than she could have imagined, with multiple layers of deceit and manipulation. "They've been pulling the strings for years," one of the whistleblowers says, her voice trembling. "We were all afraid to speak out, but now we have the chance to make it right." Claire looks at the group, her determination solidifying. "I won't back down," she declares, her voice unwavering. "We will bring them all down." The weight of the moment hits her. This is the tipping point. It's no longer just about a case. It's about a war for truth. And she's ready to fight it. The final push begins. Claire and the group of whistleblowers release the evidence to the public, setting off a chain reaction. The media picks up the story, and soon the conspiracy is exposed on a global scale. The powerful figures behind the network scramble to control the narrative. But the truth is out. Claire's life is no longer her own. She's forced into hiding as the repercussions of the revelations ripple across society. But in the darkness, Claire feels a strange sense of peace. She's done what she set out to do. She has exposed the truth, no matter the cost. Ben calls her, his voice filled with both relief and concern. "You did it, Claire," he says. "You changed everything." Claire pauses, looking out at the world beyond her hiding place. "It's not over," she responds. "But this is a start. We've only just begun to fight for justice." The media frenzy surrounding the case has only intensified since Claire's expose. The powerful figures behind the conspiracy are scrambling, using every ounce of influence to try and reverse the damage. As the world watches, Claire stands before the judge, awaiting the final verdict. It feels as if time has frozen. Her every breath feels heavy, laden with the weight of all she's sacrificed. The courtroom is filled with reporters, activists, and onlookers, all watching for the outcome. Claire is tired, but she refuses to let that show. She's come this far, and nothing can make her back down now. The gavel rises, and the room falls silent. The judge clears his throat, and the words he speaks will define not just Claire's future, but the future of everyone involved in the case. The court finds the defendant, James Cooper, not guilty, the judge announces. A rush of emotions floods through Claire. It's not the victory she expected, but it's a moment of bittersweet triumph. The system may be broken, but the truth has been exposed, and that, for Claire, is enough. After the verdict, the courtroom empties quickly, but Claire remains, her mind racing with the implications of the decision. She walks out of the courthouse, the weight of the case lifting slightly, but the world outside feels different now. She's a public figure, and not all eyes are watching her with admiration. Her phone buzzes constantly, filled with messages from supporters and detractors alike. As Claire walks through the streets, she feels a hand on her shoulder. Turning, she finds Ben, standing there, his face soft but filled with pride. "You did it," he says, his voice low. Claire looks at him, her face tired but full of gratitude. "It's over. For now," she replies. "But we both know the fight is far from done." She looks around at the chaos that follows, a reminder that while the battle for justice was won, the war against corruption and power continues. The first step has been taken, but more steps must follow. Later that night, Claire returns to her apartment. The city outside is quiet, a sharp contrast to the chaos of the past few weeks. As she enters her home, she's hit by the weight of silence. It's not the relief she expected, but a heavy pause in the story of her life. She sits on her couch, looking out at the city through her window, her mind still processing the outcome. The phone rings again, and she picks it up without hesitation. "What now, Claire?" Ben's voice comes through the line. "You know this isn't over." She exhales, looking out at the moonlit city. "I know," she says softly. "But for tonight, I need to breathe. Tomorrow, we continue." She hangs up, her eyes lingering on the city lights, the weight of the world still on her shoulders, but with the slightest hope flickering in the distance. The fight is far from over, but Claire knows she will keep pushing forward. Claire's days are now filled with a new kind of work: advocacy, reform, and making sure that what she uncovered doesn't fade into the background. The fight against corruption is long and exhausting, and Claire knows that what she's done is just a small step in a much larger struggle. She attends rallies, speaks with victims, and continues to expose the corruption she uncovered, making sure that her fight isn't forgotten. One evening, after a long day of work, she sits with Ben in a quiet bar, reflecting on how far they've come. "It feels like a dream sometimes," she says, sipping her drink. "I didn't think I'd make it this far." Ben smiles, though it's bittersweet. "You did it. But we've only scratched the surface, Claire. There's still so much to change." Claire nods, her gaze distant. "And I'll keep fighting, Ben, for as long as it takes." The resolve in her voice is unwavering, and Ben knows that no matter what lies ahead, Claire is ready to face it. As Claire steps out into the street, she feels a shift in herself, a quiet acceptance that this will never be over. There will always be more to uncover, more battles to fight. The corruption she exposed was just the beginning, and she's prepared to continue. The city seems quieter now, the chaos of the past months fading into a distant memory. She looks up at the skyline, her mind filled with determination. "This is just the start," she whispers to herself. "I'll never stop." The camera pulls back, slowly widening to show Claire standing alone in the city, a figure small against the vast urban landscape. The skyline looms large in the distance, and for a moment, there's silence, before the camera cuts to black, leaving Claire's future open, uncertain, but full of possibility. The fight may never end, but she'll be ready to face whatever comes next.